Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today I'm going to answer a question by subscriber I Love Nature, or I Like Nature, who asks, what is the best tire pressure to set your Lexus GX460 at on various surfaces? In other words, different surfaces when you go off-road. What should you set it for rock? What should you set it for mud, sand, snow, etc.? Let's get right to it. This subscriber asks, what should you set your tire pressures for specific surfaces? As you can see, we're out here in the desert, so we typically get hard sand, dirt roads, rocky roads, or crunchy stuff, or hard rock stuff, or really sand duney stuff, and sometimes we do get snow. In the winter, or in the summer, we do get monsoon season, so we do get some mud. But generally speaking, when you take your tire pressure down, in other words, let's talk about real quick what tire pressure does when you drop the tire pressure. Essentially makes your tire footprint longer, so you get more traction. So that's the easiest way to understand it. You take air out of your tires and lower down your air pressure, or air down, you're going to get more contact with the surface. That is just an absolute fact. So it's always going to be advantageous to take the air out of your tires. With that said, though, I have never aired down this Lexus GX460. So there's actually two considerations when airing down that you have to take into consideration for your particular surface or application. One is objective, the second one is subjective. Let's start with the objective one. So the objective consideration airing down is you're going to lose ride height. In other words, if I air this thing down, it's going to lose a half inch, an inch, maybe even 2 inches, depending on how much air you take out of it. So the ride height and ground is going to lower, so the ground clearance is going to be less. So if I air down this thing and I go off-road around here when I don't really need to air down, I'm going to lose an inch or two of ground clearance, and that increases the chances of getting high-centered, getting hung up, and it starts to become a trade-off of how much extra traction you want or need versus how much ground clearance you want or need. So that's the objective consideration. The second consideration is completely subjective, and that has to do with the fact that it's going to take you extra energy, time and energy, to air down and then air back up again. In other words, the laziness factor. I am too lazy personally to air this thing down. That's just me. When it comes to airing down, I don't want to get out and take the air in and out of the tires and then have to air back up if I don't absolutely need it. Now let's talk about something interesting to get context here before we go over the surfaces. And that is, people may or may not know this, but Toyota, when they take their off-road vehicles and test them, in other words, they run them through off-road trials, whether it's a 4Runner, a Land Cruiser Prado like this Lexus GX460, or whatever. They do all of their off-road trials at stock tire pressure and on stock all-season tires. They do not air down when they run trials, and they do not put on all-terrain tires when they run their off-road trials. So you can watch even the current generation Land Cruiser 300, when they ran that thing through trials, they don't air anything down, and they don't put all-terrain tires like these BFG KO2s on it. They use the normal street tires, normal air pressure, and they thrash that thing in snow, in mud, on rocks, on sand, on gravel, and it has to pass the engineers, what the engineers consider to be, the benchmark to, be a Land Cruiser or a 4Runner or a Hilux or a Tacoma or a Tundra or whatever. And that's a pretty high benchmark. These things are Toyota's flagship vehicles. They're really great off-road. Everybody knows that. But do know that when Toyota comes up with that benchmark, it's in quote stock configuration. There's no airing down and there's no playing around with different tires. So let's get back, keep that in mind as we discuss the surfaces here and whether or not you want to air down. So generally speaking, I'm going to make it as simple as possible. You air down on soft sand. That's it. So when you air down, and of course there's going to be an asterisk here, so hang on. It's going to be more times you want to air down than that. But generally speaking, unless it's soft sand, we don't air down. Why? Because soft sand, and I'm talking sand duny sand, like really soft, powdery, loose stuff, that's when airing down is really going to give you the maximum benefit, because you're going to get way more contact patch. And out here in the desert, it could save your life. People have died on off-road trails out here when they didn't air down, when airing down could have gotten them out of their loose sand. People get stuck in loose sand out here all the time. It's almost like quicksand, you know, you just get stuck in it. You just sink, you lose traction, that's it. Airing down helps in those situations. Now, snow. What about snow? And this is where I'm going to say I have zero experience off-roading in snow. Now, I'm from the East Coast, so I'm used to driving on road in snow, but, you know, growing up in a snowing environment, I have absolutely no interest in off-roading in snow. It's just something I've done all my life, and I'm not interested in it. It's more of a chore and a hassle for me. So what is the answer in snow? I recommend that you go out there and look on YouTube of people who actually off-road in snow. Picture speaks 1,000 words, a video speaks 1,000,000 words. So the proof is in the visuals. So you don't need to go on forums and go into theoretics and semantics. Get on YouTube and watch people snow wheel or off-road in snow and see what they set their tire pressures at. And if they do it and they get through without any problems, then there's your answer. You don't need anybody to prove it for you other than the video itself. So I would recommend for snow, tire pressures, see what they set them at. We simply just don't do it. Now, sand, as I said, you definitely want to air down to help you out and get maximum traction. With that said, we've never aired down in sand at all, or aired down this vehicle ever, because the default traction on this vehicle is so good. Again, I'm tying this in back to how Toyota and Lexus torture test these vehicles in stock configuration. We've personally never yearned for more traction in this vehicle. The only way we've been stuck is to high center it, which is a clearance issue, and the stupidity of the driver here. So those things aside, I've never had to air down this vehicle. Now, that's not to say that airing down is not going to give you more traction. It most certainly is. We just haven't found in the trails we've taken the reason to do it, the necessity to do it is what I'm trying to babble here. So, and again, weighing that convenience, do I want to air down, do I want to air back up, blah, blah, blah. You know, that subjective side of it, just haven't had the need to. Now, would I definitely air down if I found myself, for example, at Diablo Drop-Off? We went up there and it was full of sand dunes and I almost aired down. We've been so close to airing down in different situations, but this thing is pulled through amazingly every time. It's stock PSI. On this car, it's 32 PSI. That's what we keep it at, more or less. So the gist of it is, to wrap it all up, air down as much or as little as you want. Learn your car. Every car is different. Keep in mind, Toyota torture test their vehicles again. A stock configuration, stock PSI, no airing down, no fancy tires, and they go out and they pass that benchmark. So we found that in our experience that to be ridiculously true. Every nonsensical thing and crazy thing off-road we've done in this vehicle has been its stock configuration, no airing down yet. However, like I said, we have come close. So if you need it and you're willing to air down, air up, go ahead and do it. You're always going to get that objective, longer tread pattern. You're going to spread out the load on those loose surfaces, and so you're always going to get advantage as far as traction is concerned. But do always be mindful, as we end here, of that losing that ground clearance. You could get hung up on a rock as the trade-off of airing down. So find the limits of your vehicle, get out there, test it, and you come up with your own conclusions and what works for you. The best thing you can do is just simply get out there and do it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Carry ropes if you get stuck. That's it. And see what happens and experiment. That's the answer. So if you found this video helpful, please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you, and have a great, great, wonderful day.